Hello and welcome to A10 Conversations. I'm your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, and today we will take a deep dive into the celebration of National Hispanic Heritage Month. The celebration started in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson, although at the time it was not a month, but rather a week, and it was known as Hispanic Heritage Week. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan expanded the celebration to 30 days. This recognition is very important because it provides an opportunity for us to celebrate, recognize, and uplift the important contributions that Hispanic communities have had in our country's history and society on a global scale. So joining me today, we have four very special guests of proud Latin origins from within our Atlantic 10 membership. Joining me in studio, we have Gabi Trainor, a George Washington University assistant swimming and diving coach, and Ivan Chirinos, an assistant track and field coach at George Mason University. And also joining us virtually are Manu, Ghigliotti, a field hockey student athlete from St. Joseph's University, and Perez, a pitcher on the Fordham baseball team. So a special welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for being part of this A10 conversation. So to begin, I just want to begin by asking each of you just to talk a little bit about your own cultural identity. Gabi, I'd like to start with you.
Thank you. I'm a proud first generation, half Colombian, half Uruguayan. My mom is Colombian, my dad is Uruguayan. My entire family still lives there, so we go back all the time.
That's awesome. Coach?
Yeah, I got here to the United States when I was 12. I'm from Peru. Both my parents are from Peru. They're living here in Virginia with me.
Yes.
Still have family there. Have a good chunk of my family here in Virginia as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just...
Awesome. Thank you both. And now let's head over to Andres.
Yeah, so I'm a proud first-generation American. My mom is born in the Philippines, and my dad was raised in Mexico. Growing up in Los Angeles, that Mexican identity was kind of all around me. So.
Thank you. And Manu, last but certainly not least.
Yeah, both of my parents were born in Argentina, and I'm originally from Argentina. So yeah.
Awesome. We have great cultural diversity here, which I'm excited to talk about today. So let's begin with what cultural traditions or celebrations are uplifted during Hispanic Heritage Month, and why is this recognition of the month-long celebration important for all of us to learn from? Let's start with you, Coach.
I do look forward to the food that usually comes around. I'm a big eater. I'm always looking for good Peruvian restaurants. So that's one of the things that I like going and taking my daughters and my wife to just experience different new dishes or whatever.
Nice. I think food unites all of us.
Yes.
I think we're all excited about all the good food we've been eating all month long. Let's go to you.
Absolutely. Well, like Coach, one of the bigger celebrations we have, one of my favorites is it's called La Novena. 9 days before Christmas, you pray, you get together with your family. Colombia basically shuts down. Just pray, sing, you're with your entire family, friends. It's an excuse for huge dinner parties for 9 days straight, just celebrating Christmas and family. So that's in December. In terms of within Hispanic Heritage Month, I look forward to my son's school to celebrations, and they invite parents to come in and share their cultures, and my kids are lucky to be half Hispanic and then half Irish on my husband's side. So I just go in and talk about Hispanic heritage, and it's really nice.
That's awesome, getting the best of both worlds for your children. That's awesome. Let's go next to Manu. What about you? What important cultural celebrations are you most proud of?
I think I'm very proud of, it's most like over the whole year, the ones I like the most. I think it's a little bit about asado, which is like grilling and barbecue with our families and friends. And also we have a strong sense of community at home. So I will also mention mate, which is a tea we like to share a lot. And it's not about just like, drinking tea, but it's also about like sharing and having friends around, and you just pass the mate around and we all drink. For me, it's one of the most important ones too.
Yeah, I think such a community is built at that dinner table when I can hear that in your answer. Andres, let's close this question out with you.
I really love the holiday season when it comes to it. Spending the time with my Mexican family, it's just always like great when my grandma's like busting out the steamer to make the tamales for Christmas time. Taking part in posadas, which are like candlelight vigils, are always a lot of fun too. Just kind of being around family is really part. And then also like to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month, at least here in New York, there's the Mexican Day Parade. And especially in the Bronx, like seeing all the cars lined up with like their Mexican flags flying out the window and they're playing Norteño music. Like it's just so much fun to be a part of and kind of experience that environment.
Yeah, it sounds fun, and I've actually had a chance to experience that in New York, so I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, something I think that's also really important is language and how that really plays a role in all of our cultures. And so I want to ask you, what role does language play in shaping your Hispanic identity? Manu, let's start with you on this one.
Well, I mean, Spanish is definitely my favorite language. I'm not gonna change that, but I think being here for 4 years also, you know, you lose a little bit that like Spanish and going back and forth between both. But I think for me it's very important because also like even though I'm here in America now, but connecting with other people, you know, friends and people who you have no idea if they speak Spanish is just like a connection. And also, I mean, with my family, I mean, definitely is something very important for me. So,
Gabi, what about you?
George Washington is incredibly diverse. And not only the student body, the faculty, the staff, and the people around our community. So it's nice to be able to go into the library, a coffee shop, I mean anywhere, and talk to really anyone that might be working there or that's there. And hearing Spanish, it does make you just feel better. So I speak Spanish anytime I can. And it disarms people a little bit. It makes them feel safe. I know for me, even though I'm first generation, Spanish was my first language. And if I hear someone speaking Spanish, it doesn't matter where I am, I just immediately feel like kind of pressures off a little bit, like I'm safe here. Yeah.
It's good to have that feeling, and like you said, I think George Washington being so diverse, it makes that a little bit easier. And Coach, you know you gave us an example with the student athlete, but what about in the George Mason University community as a whole?
Well, this is my second year at Mason, but I know there's at least one or two coaches in the coaching staff at Mason for track that he likes to practice his Spanish, Tony. You know, we kind of go back and forth and tell me something in Spanish or teach me a new rhyme or you know, that kind of stuff. And you know, I like doing that. You know, it's something that I don't normally do, so it's kind of making me redo it. And it also allows me to practice with Spanish because it like she mentioned, and it's after being around for so long.
Yeah.
I have more of an accent in Spanish than I know in English now, so it's one of those things.
It happens.
Yes, it happens.
Andres, what about you?
Definitely talking in Spanish, like at least here in the Bronx, makes me feel like I'm at home. Coming from LA, like I grew up, everybody around me was talking in Spanish, my classmates. We spoke a lot of Spanglish at home growing up too, so being able to come to the Bronx and still have that sense of, like everybody else has been saying, familiarity. I go into my deli, I talk to the guy in Spanish, and it feels like home, even though I'm 3,000 miles away from where I'm from. Same thing like when I go to the barber shop, my barber Jose, like I go into him every once a month, talk to him as like a family. And so yeah, I think Spanish is really important, kind of building that community.
Yeah, I feel like so many important conversations began at that barber shop. And Manu, let's close it out with you.
Yeah, I actually had an example because last weekend we played Davidson, and after the game I was talking with some friends, and then I hear like some Spanish people then from the other team, and I just definitely I was like, I need to go say hi, you know, and introduce myself at least. And I think as she mentioned, she like this feeling of like I'm a little safe and I don't have this pressure. I think it's something that Spanish or maybe your own language just like makes you feel that way. So I mean, it was very nice, and it's very nice to connect with other people in Spanish, I think.
Yeah. I think that language can be like an icebreaker, right? And it can also help you just get to introduce yourself to somebody that you might not have otherwise. So that's what I think is the beauty and the diversity of language. And just digging a little bit deeper into your Hispanic heritage, how has your Hispanic heritage played a role in your sense of belonging and identity, whether it's on campus or here in America? And let's start with you, Andres, on this question.
So yeah, I'd say like come to the Bronx, like it's definitely like the neighborhood around Fordham's got a lot of Mexican people, so I do feel like connected. I do feel like it's home. And then also like just when it comes to sense of belonging, like I meet, like I go out in the public or I go out around campus and it just feels like home. I go around, it feels like I'm walking around LA, and a lot of that has to do with seeing people who look like me, seeing people who also talk in Spanish and kind of can pick up that Spanglish whenever. Definitely important.
Awesome. Manu, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of the same way. I know a lot of people who speak Spanish here at St. Joe's too. I have an Argentinian friend too, so I think I feel very connected, and most of my teammates don't know a lot of Spanish, but they're very open to like learning. So it's kind of fun to help them and teach them some words. So yeah.
So we're all here in the present, but I'm sure we're always looking forward to future generations, right, that we can hopefully impact. So how do you ensure that younger generations of Hispanic and Latino individuals feel proud of their heritage here in the United States? And let's start with you, Andres, on this one.
I'd say the biggest thing is representation. Young Hispanic kids kind of need to see role models and the people that they look up to in themselves. For me, like growing up, one of my favorite football players, I wasn't even a Jets fan, was Mark Sanchez, and that's because he looked like me. He was also Mexican. He was also from Southern California. Just being able to have that is really important in terms of just like when these young kids kind of set on, like when they grow up, they want to set these goals for bigger things. That's kind of how I got into baseball. Watching the MLB the whole time, it's a lot of last names that are similar to mine, and that's just kind of how I've been able to set up and look for my role models.
Awesome, that's great. I hope you know that you are also a role model that young kids are also looking up to right now. Manu, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much like interested, like representing, but also I think it's about sharing the stories behind maybe our traditions. Um, you know, I think it's a good idea to bring our traditions here, but also like explaining the why, like why we do this, what we do. And I think it also helps people around you understand. And also, I think for future generations, it's going to be important because pretty much like every tradition is shaped towards our values. So yeah, I mean, understanding why and helping them and teaching them for that.
Yeah, thanks, Manu. I think younger children are always asking that why part. It's important for us to be able to explain that. Coach, let's go to you.
Me being an educator, it's all about education, and it's great to have your cultural identity and everything else, but it's going to be more impactful if you have that education behind you. I think so. There's a lot of pride in the Hispanic community, but sometimes I think that pride is missed just because they can't communicate it properly. So it's so education in general is one of the biggest ways that we can go ahead and help everybody. I mean, yeah, it allows to share. I mean, a lot of the schools nowadays go above and beyond their call of duty to go ahead and incorporate in that inclusivity and all that stuff, and it's there. So you just got to be open to that, to learn and take it in, and just be that open-mindedness that everybody should have.
And Gabi, we will close out with you on this question. Why is it important for that younger generation to have these role models, to have these conversations?
Things like Hispanic Heritage Month open up conversations, but 1 month isn't going to solve anything. Open-mindedness within the United States, within the world. Also, I think semantics plays a really big part in barriers that some Hispanics feel. So I think if we just shift the language and perspective away from negative connotations, I think that's going to break barriers and help Hispanics in general be proud and show that they're proud of where we come from, who we are, who our ancestors are, and share it more with the United States or the world, because there'll be more of an open mind to embrace it.
Nice. Such a powerful answer and a great way to close. There was just so much great and important information that was shared here today, and I hope that all of you in our listening audience truly take this conversation to heart. I want to send a special shout out and thank you to all of our guests for sharing your insight and important knowledge on this very, very important topic. Know that this was just a starting point. This is not the end. We are going to continue to explore the diverse experiences and perspectives within the Hispanic community. So I hope we will use this conversation to both educate and inspire each other. And that is all the time we have for this edition of A10 Conversations. It was so great speaking with all of you. Best of luck to all of you in your respective sports this year. Good luck, and thank you all so much for joining me. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.